guys, welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. It's me, Jake, and this is Bandit. He had his 12th birthday just a little while ago. Yeah, he's a good old boy, aren't you, buddy? I know some of you like to see him, so there he is. He's doing fairly well. He's starting to show his age, but he's doing well. I'm going to put him down now. Oh, wow! What a time it's been lately. It's been going crazy. Those of you who saw my bathroom update, I've got the repair done. I'm going to test it in probably about 5 hours. Everything should be, sealed and dried enough for me to get it all wet then. So I'll have to update you later on and tell you about it. One other thing, just a tiny bit of news. I've got some stuff from Popov Leather. So if you like leather goods, I got a sleeve here. This is one of the first things I got from Popov Leathers. It's a different, it's not made exactly the same way as this is anymore. This is a little knife holder or other holder, whatever you want in there. And I've got my San Remo 810 in there. 810, yeah. It's a size between their 910 series and their 710 series. Really nice. I bought this leather wallet a while ago. It's just 2 sleeves, 2 pockets, works really well. This is the leather wallet that I use regularly, but they're sending me a new leather wallet. And boy, oh boy, I got into their stuff and I really am liking it. A lot of their stuff is 40% off right now. And I've got a referral code down below. Coupon code doesn't work anymore. Coupon codes are being, abused by, bots and all kinds of other stuff. So they're using a referral link and you get 20% off. So some of this stuff's 40% off. And I believe the 20% off goes on top of the 40% off. So that's 60% off. Wow. I've had I've had 2 of their belts. Oh, their belts are just awesome. And they keep improving, making improvements on stuff. So if you're used to using a wallet like this, like I had, this thing lasted me about a year and, it just started coming apart everywhere. The thinnest possible leather. It says it's genuine leather, but when I go in there, it's not. It's patent leather. It's leather that's been ground up and then glued onto a piece of fabric. And yeah, the outside surface is, partly animal skin, but Popov Leather uses real full grain leather, just the way you expect leather to be. No man-made materials whatsoever in their leather. It's real leather. It's not ground up. It's not re-glued together. It's nothing. It's real tanned, proper leather. I keep hitting stuff over here. And they got lots of colors, more and more colors all the time. I've got a new color coming. I'll show you that video after this video. That'll be the next thing I record. Today we're looking at the CJRB Hyperlite. And it's a fixed blade knife. It's been out for a couple of years already. I've had mine for, I think, over a year. But somehow I lost the belt clip on there. And it's taken me forever. Not their fault, my fault. It's taken me forever to contact them and ask them to send me a new belt loop and so I can do the full review. So if you're interested in a light 4-inch plus fixed blade knife and you've not heard of the Hyperlite yet, because it's been around, like I said, 2 years, then you're going to want to watch this video. The goal was to make a 3-ounce knife. Joe Flowers is the designer of this. He's a outdoor survival enthusiast. He especially does an awful lot of stuff in South America, Central America, South America. And he's the designer of this. And so it looks a little bit South American machete-esque on the handle. I'll look at that a little more closely. Let's come to the tabletop and we're going to take a good close look at this thing. I'll tell you what I think about it. I'll give you links down below for where to buy it. All that other good stuff. Keep watching. All right, here it is. This is not a heavy knife at all, like I said. That was the main point. CJRB approached Joe Flowers and asked him if he could make a under 3-ounce knife. And he said he'd give it his best shot and he'd do it. And this is the result. Like I said, this version with the G10 is about 3.5 ounces. but we've got over 4 inches of cutting edge. Let me double check that. I got my notes right here and I got them turned upside down, so I got to turn my notes back up down. Yeah, 4.07 inches if you draw a straight line from the cutting edge there to the cutting edge there. So 4+ inch cutting edge knife blade. Before we get more into the blade, and I'll leave it right here at the bottom of the screen, let's take a look at this. We've got a little bit of cordage that comes with it, and this is the cordage that comes with it. It's probably it's probably paracord. It's probably 100-pound paracord. I'm not totally sure. It might be 100-pound paracord, but it's a type of, that's the type it is. We've got, like I said, a taco sheath. There is a drain hole right there down at the bottom of the sheath. Quite nice. Edge, nicely done. Rivets, well done. We've got 3 screws that are holding the base of your pocket clip on. We've got 3 adjustment spots for it. So how low it rides on your hip or how high it rides on your hip is adjustable with that. So that's really good. And I think you can turn it, if I remember correctly. I did this before. Like I said, I've had this knife for a long time. That's a T8 screw. Let's just do it right for you. Take that screw out. Oh yeah, it was loose already. Yeah, see, it's a square right there, which means you can turn it this way. You can turn it this way. So you can do scout carry if you want, and you can do higher carry. I don't do scout carry. I've never gotten into that, but for those of you who are interested in it, you've got that option with this, and you can move it again 3 different spots. So that's a whole bunch of options for carrying this thing. And the J clip here, this part is ABS plastic. Actually, I don't know that for certain. They don't say on their documentation what type of plastic they're using. I believe it's probably an ABS plastic. It's a nice loop and it works well. It holds onto your pants, holds onto your belt, doesn't slip out accidentally. It works well. It's a good design. I quite like it. The retention on this is quite good. It's not perfect. One thing I don't like is the putting the blade in. You can probably see, maybe you can see it, I don't know, a little bit of black on the edge of that blade. Every time you put it in and take it out, it rubs a little bit, even though I'm pushing the spine of my knife into the spine of the sheath. There's a little bit of rubbing of that cutting edge in the sheath, and I'm not happy with that. You can do it, you just have to be careful when you do it. Sometimes it gets a tiny bit caught up. I'm not fond of that. Something that needed to be done there to change that a little bit. But this shape here meets the handle quite well, holds it very well. It's not loose, doesn't rattle. There's no looseness to that. So it holds the knife in there well. You've got enough of a prominence right there. Yeah, I got to show it on this side. To put your thumb on, from this side to let it go. By the way, you can turn this around and make it right or left-handed. Works just as fine either way. This is totally ambidextrous. You can put it either direction. Yeah, so the sheath is okay. I would like it to be a little bit better. Kydex is a little bit of a tougher material. It might dull your edge a tiny bit over time. It's certainly not going to help your edge. So just be aware of that, but it's not terrible at all. There's nothing big and problematic with this sheath. I like it. It's well done. Good options on it. Now here's the blade. AR RPM 9 steel, which has been in the media again recently since Knife Nerd, Laren Thomas. Dr. Laren Thomas did a video, some stuff about AR RPM 9, and good on him. It was a good in-depth look at what AR RPM 9 is, and it's still a good steel. I still like it. AR RPM 9, model numbers up there, Joe Flowers' logo's right there. It's up on the flat, really nicely done. And on this side, CJRB is right up there. So the badging's done really well. We've got this big fuller in here, and that's to help reduce the weight of it while still giving a lot of substance to this blade. I would have liked if they would have ground it a little bit higher, but this is a fairly thin steel to start with. It's just over 1/10 of an inch thick. I'll give you the exact measurements later on. Drop point all the way to the tip, some good belly and a good straight section. A very versatile blade shape. Thickness of this edge is just under 20 thou thick, just right around 1/2 millimeter thick, right behind the apex grind. That's good. This knife cuts quite well. It cuts and slices fairly well. It's not designed as a piercing knife, although you can do some piercing with it. Just make sure you got yourself a good grip, because you don't want your hand to slide up over that edge and, you know, do a little cut on your hand. What did they say this knife was for? They designed it, or Joe designed it, as an outdoors lightweight knife. Does it do that? You know, it's for camping, presumably for, you know, the backpacker, hiker, you know, camper type thing. This is not a survival knife, in my opinion. The primary reason I don't like this as a survival knife is I'd like the blade to be a little bit thicker. Now, I don't go for 1/4 inch thick. You know, that would be 2.5 times thicker than this. Almost, not quite 2.5 times thicker. I don't like steel that thick for an actual survival knife, but I like it to be thicker than this. You know, a little bit over 1/8 of an inch would be better. You know, you can just do more things. And the handle, since it's trying to be a Hyperlite, trying to be really light, there's not enough handle in here to be beefy enough for extended hard use. So I'm calling this a medium use knife. I'm not saying it's a light use knife, because you can do quite a lot with this thing. I'm calling it a medium use knife, especially good stainless steel, very good or very decent stainless protection against it, rust resistance. The handle's quite nice, quite comfortable, for doing a little bit of work for a little while, but long-term extended hard use, no, this knife is not that. Back on the handle here a little bit. It's well done in terms of how well the G10 fits the steel everywhere. That's good. We've got a tiny little lanyard hole right there. Can you fit 550 paracord through there? Not unless you take the guts out. So 550 paracord casing fits in there. Smaller paracord fits in there. Paracord does come in a wide range of weights that it's rated for. 550 pounds is the standard. When people say paracord, they almost always just mean 550 pounds. That's why they say 550 paracord. But you can get, you know, there's like 4 or 5 smaller versions of it. Well, like I said at the beginning, you know, this is not probably technically paracord, but it's paracord-esque. And this is, you know, light stuff that's probably 100 pound. Placement, though, of that lanyard hole is ideal. It's exactly where I want it to be. Let's look at something that's kind of odd, and that's this tail part. See, this is sort of machete handle-esque. Bandit's having a good time roaming around. This is, you know, got that little tail. It gives you a little bit more to grab onto when you're, you know, using it, but the handle sort of just, if you got your pinky far enough back here for that, the handle just sort of disappears in here in the soft part of your palm, and you lose some of that control over here, and you have to do more grabbing, more tension with your, you know, index finger and your middle finger and your thumb to keep better control of this thing. I'd like the handle to be just a little bit longer instead of tapering away and just sort of terminating that way. But a reverse grip is actually quite nice. If you did need this, you know, in a sort of a fighting grip, for whatever reason, it's okay this way. It's certainly not great, but it's okay this way. And that little tail there probably has a specific name, does work for that. What about this little notch here? Well, it's sort of like a half a hex hole. They designed it and made the size it's supposed to be able to adjust your camp stove. It's, what size did I say this was? 4.7 millimeters, so 4.5 millimeter nut would fit in there. I'll put on the screen whatever size that is, but it's for a camp stove. Now, I don't have one handy, so I did not use that. So I don't know if it's the exact size. Smooth, sort of 3D milled G10. You know, it's decent, but it's not great. It's not special. The main feature of this knife, the main selling point, the main design point was to have a very light 4-inch knife. Now, you're not going to find many full tang 4-inch knives that are 3.5 ounces. You're going to find them that are a whole lot more than that. Let's take these handle scales off and take a look. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, okay, there we go, yep. It must be D-shaped in there. I haven't taken these off yet. This is actually my first time doing this on camera, and I've had this thing for a long time. Now, I don't watch other people's reviews of knives, so I don't know what other people have said about this knife. I'm sure that it's going to be skeletonized in here a fair bit to help keep the weight down, just like they did that big Fuller there. Let's push this. Oh, that's tight. Well, maybe I'll just take the one. I might not take those pins all the way out. Oh, I can see it clearly. That's D-shaped for sure. So let's see if I can take this off. Now let's put this at least partly in the sheath so I don't risk myself quite as much. Come on. There we go. Get my nail behind it. Oh, got to come on a little further. Ta-da! Oh, yeah, there's still some oil in there. So they've skeletonized the G10 as well to help reduce the weight. And what do we got? 6 holes milled in there. And yeah, D-shaped pins. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. Some people are saying it's got to be solid to be called a full tang knife. No, it's got a full tang. It's just a skeletonized full tang. And does this make the handle weaker? Technically, yes. Is it that much weaker that I wouldn't want to use it? No. It really doesn't weaken it all that much, except for side loading. G10 is a very tough material, and you have that squeezed on there with those 2 screws, and it's, you know, overcoming a lot of the strength that's been cut out of there, while not making it all that much heavier. So, yeah, good design. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I don't mind at all that they've done that for what this knife is designed to do. And I like the D-shaped pin there. It helps hold it all together. So if you do use this knife and you end up getting it, you know, well and dirty, like maybe you get some oil in it, or you get some, you know, maybe you cut some citrus and stuff. You don't want that sitting even on stainless steel for the long term, coming in underneath the G10 and sitting there. Or blood or whatever, you know, maybe you butchered something and, you know, you caught something like a rabbit or something, or what have you, wherever you are. You do want to take it apart and clean it. And it just takes 1 T8 screw to clean that out. To be able to take it apart, I should say. And I just used my fingers, got it apart, no problem. By the way, these, yes, these are also T8 right here. Like I showed you, that's T8. So, yeah, decent. How well does it cut? I mentioned it earlier. The blade shape is quite good for cutting and slicing and all that stuff. What I don't like is there's no sharpener's choil. Now, sharpener's choil is sort of a more modern kind of thing. I think Joe Flowers likes a lot of these, you know, old school, you know, style knives. He uses a lot of machetes, stuff like that. And so I'm sure it was Joe's idea to not put a sharpener's choil in here. I don't like this because I know exactly what's going to happen. At the end of this main sharpening main side bevel, it sort of is a ramp that comes up, like just a gradual ramp that comes up to the full thickness. When you're sharpening in there, this spot is going to get pretty ugly. Now, if you don't mind the ugly edge here, yeah, that's fine. I like a sharpener's edge, sharpener's choil in there, so I got a nice, crisp, clean termination for my sharpening. I've done videos in the past years ago on how to put a sharpener's choil onto stuff. If I can find which video that is, I'll link it up here And down below, if I can't find it, well, just do a search for it on Canadian Cutting Edge Sharpener's Choil. And there you go. You'll probably find it. Let's do the full spectrum of measurements on this knife and go over that. First, the weight. The weight of this knife, this thing was 100 grams on the nose, which is 3.53 ounces with the G10. The sheath with this cordage and everything, so you could carry it just with the Kydex here, the taco, and you'd save some weight. But with everything that you see here, this is 72 grams, 2.54 ounces, together 172 grams, 6.07 ounces. So you can say this whole system is 6 ounces, quite good. Sharpness from the factory, I got a score of 155 best. That's the average out of 3 tests with my sharpening measurement system. That's quite good. I quite like that. The cutting edge length, like I said earlier, 103.5 millimeters, 4.07 inches. Blade length, so tip to the closest spot on the G10 in a straight line, 106.9 millimeters, 4.21 inches. The thickness of this blade at the full thickness area, 2.69 millimeters. That's 0.106. So like I said, just a tiniest bit over 1/10 of an inch. The blade depth, its biggest right here. That's this measurement. 31.5 millimeters, 1.24 inches. How thin is it right behind the edge? The apex grind, how thick is this main bevel right there at that edge? Like I said, 0.5 millimeters, 19.5 thousandths of an inch. Little bit thinner in some spots, a tiny bit thicker in some spots, but very, very close to that. Very consistent, well done. Grind angles, I don't measure that anymore because so many viewers aren't interested in that, but it's sharpened quite well, fairly consistently. The angle's pretty good. The handle now, the handle length, and I'm adding on this little tail here. So from my thumbnail to my thumbnail, 101 millimeters, 3.98 inches. The grip area is right around 10 centimeters, 3.9 inches, something like that. The thickness of the handle, not counting the screws because they stick out a little bit. So the thickest spot right down the middle, 11.9 millimeters, which is 0.468 of an inch. The handle depth, the biggest part within the grip in your hand, 26.7 millimeters, 1.05 inches. And the total length is about 208 millimeters, 8.19 inches. So that's the dimensions. Let's do the price before I give you my final commentary. The price of this thing, most stores in the United States have this for $59.99. You can get it from CJRB.net. You can get it from Artisan Cutlery's website for that price. You can get it from White Mountain Knives, where I bought mine. White Mountain Knives is $59.99. You take off 10% with coupon code CCE for Canadian Cutting Edge, and that makes it $53.99 US. So $54 US for this. But you save money if you're Canadian, because this is on for $69.99 Canadian at Blades Canada. So my thoughts. What do I think of this knife? I like it. I don't like it. I like it. I mostly like it. The only thing I don't like is I'm so used to a 4-inch knife having more of a handle for more use. Oh, by the way, I didn't talk about the jimping. Yeah, the jimping's good. There's not enough of it. That's the main thing. If you stay back here, the jimping's good. But like I said, if you stay back here, I don't like how the handle ends before it goes over there. If you sneak up and you want to put your thumb back here and you're going to be doing some cutting that's a little bit heavier duty cutting, you're going to push a bit harder into something. I wouldn't mind if maybe not quite this aggressive a jimping, but some jimping came all the way up until it got into the fuller. So this whole spine here, I'd like a little bit of jimping. They could have taken off, 1/100th of an ounce with that kind of jimping. But, if you've got a steel file, you can do your own jimping in there if you want to. Of course, it's probably going to be messy if you do it by hand, but yeah. I wouldn't mind a stonewash finish on it, but satin's not bad. I like that. The handle mostly is what was disappointing. So for a lightweight knife, it's very well done. But for a 4-inch knife, I'd like it to be just a little bit heavier. But then it would be just like every other knife that's 4 inches in a lot of ways. So this has a special sweet spot for somebody that's looking for something really lightweight but still wants 4 inches of cutting edge. And that's why I like it. It meets a requirement that not very many knives meet. You know, like I said, most of them are bigger, more heavy duty, but that's why I call this a medium to light duty knife. It's like an EDC knife, a rural EDC maybe, urban EDC for sure. It's a medium duty knife, not a survival knife, not a heavy duty knife. The handle being thin, that's part of it. It's great for it being light. It's great for more concealment. Some guys are gonna, use this lanyard and carry it around their neck without the handle on it, so it doesn't print a lot. So if you have a neck carry desire and you want 4 inches, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice at all for that. I wish they would have put a bigger lanyard hole on there. That helped with the weight a little bit. Oh, I didn't show you the balance point, did I? Right there. And if they made that a little bit lighter, the balance point would be a tiny bit more this way. I mean, bigger, if they would have made that lanyard hole a bit bigger. I like my balance point to be right where my index finger lays, and this is very close to that, so that's a good thing. So lanyard hole, I would have liked that to be a bit bigger. And this thing here, not necessary. Not necessary at all. Anybody who's got a camping stove will have an adjustment tool, I hope. And if they don't, they got a Leatherman or something, hopefully. Not guaranteed. It just seems like something odd to put in there. It just seems odd to me for this knife. So that's sort of the pros and cons of that are both pros and both cons. It's light and thin, which is a pro. It's light and thin, which could be considered a con. Like it really depends on what you want. Things that are fully pros, it's a good looking knife. I like that. It does look good. The blade shape, the grind, the edge grind, the sharpening on it, those are all well done. I like this big fuller. I like that they didn't put any swedges up here to make it, even thinner than it would be. You need your full thickness for when you have your thumb back there. So yeah, that looks good. Badging's done well. It's not too in your face. Certainly not on the main bevel. I hate badging on the main bevel. The jimping's decent. I do wish there's a little bit more of it. But it's a decent knife for using. It's not too thick behind the edge to be hard to use. It's not so thin that it's fragile. This is done well. The only other thing I would change is the sharpness trail. Now that's something I can change. A lot of people can change. If you're not concerned about how it looks when you go to sharpen it, because it's easy to mess up this area, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. It's just whatever you want. I don't think this knife is done super well, which is why it's only available in this black. I think I saw an introduction video of this thing a little over 2 years ago. They showed Artisan Cutlery's YouTube page. They showed it with a micarta handle, and they said something about it being lighter that way, I think. That would have been nice. If micarta is lighter, you could make it a tiny bit thicker and get this same 3.5 ounces for this. Or if you really want under 3 ounces, you get that skeletonized version, but you're going to have even more of those handle issues that I'm describing. Skeletonized handles, unless you wrap them with paracord, which, ruins the whole purpose of a skeletonized handle in my book, because then you can't use the tools unless you take all the paracord off, then you got to put it all back on. Yeah. But if you really want something under 3 ounces and 4 inches, you can do that. Now, can you use this one without the handle? Sure. I didn't try it because I don't want something that's just 1/10 of an inch thick in my hand. I wouldn't want to do any use of it, like working hard with it for any while. Cuts cardboard? Yeah, of course. You've seen a lot of people cut cardboard in their videos. Can this cut cardboard? It cuts it really well. It's a good design blade. And it cuts a lot of things quite well. I did some food prep with this, did all kinds of stuff with it. Nice. I like it. What are my final thoughts on this thing? For $60 US, well, 54 if you get it from White Mountain Knives, I think it's a good knife if you want something thin and light and this size. Consider this guy. If you want something that's beefier the handle, don't buy it. Get something else. There's a lot of knives out there. No need to compromise, but I'm sure there's some people looking for this combination, and CJRB is filling that niche. So many different ways to say words, eh? I know somebody's going to correct me in the comments, but this guy fits that spot for a budget price with a decent sheath. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. I appreciate that you watched this thing, especially if you watched all the way to the end. You guys are just awesome. Thank you to everybody who supports my channel emotionally. I don't receive financial support anymore. I will be shutting down my Patreon page eventually, but I still have to do my sale for my knife sharpening stuff and my flashlights and stuff to make back some money that I've had to, well, I won't go into that right now. I need some more money. So I will be doing some selling of some of that stuff. So thank you again. Thanks for those of you who are concerned about Bandit. I appreciate it. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.